By now, you should be aware that 99% of Filipinos, especially those online, are scammers. They are the ones looking to simply gain money from you. In this video, I will share some red flags you need to watch out for, some warning signs, early warning signs, shared by Bruiser. Read this if you don't want to get scammed by a Filipina. I chatted with thousands, dozens, I should say, and even hundreds of Filipinas before I got married. This is what I learned about scammers. If you get scammed after reading this, you can't say you weren't warned. Early warning signs. Love bombing. Out of nowhere, if they say, "You're the man I prayed for, God really sent you to me." If you haven't even had a proper conversation yet, that's a tactic, not a connection. 2. Tragic stories right after high. My dad died. I'm taking care of my siblings alone. I lost my job because of the pandemic, but I keep fighting. This doesn't mean they're lying, but when it's represented before trust is bullshit, it's a form of pressure. Yes, also it's another form of planting seeds so they can try and ask you for money later because now you have the backstory of why she may not have money. 3. Strong provider expectations baked in, quote, "A man should take care of a woman. Filipinos are loyal if you treat them right." Watch how treat slowly becomes pay. Yes, this is one thing you should be aware of. In the Philippines, if someone says, "You should treat me well," they mean financially, gifts, money, things like that, not necessarily showing affection. This happened once to me. Someone said, "Oh, you need to take care of me." This was when I was so naive. I assumed she meant take care of her as in to be a man, but she meant financially, but you all know this by now. 4. Social media games. Why haven't you posted about me on your wall? Don't you want people to know you have a Filipina and how? This happens fast. It's about control, not a romance or trust. 5. Testing your loyalty with money. Send a load or else how do I know you're serious? If you can't help me now, how will you support a family? They would say. You're not in a relationship. You're in a job interview. That's right. Why would any man send money at the beginning or ever talking to a woman makes no sense. This gaming scene has changed drastically in the past 10 to 20 years, and women expect men to simply send money because they have so many options. There's no other way of them prioritizing their dating pool aside from simply seeing who is willing to send money, and men, or I should say simps, will continue to send money. And the biggest one, when they say they're not after money, but everything becomes about money later. Yes, of course, this happens often. They want to say one thing, but act in a whole different way. My wife had her own goals and didn't expect me to save her. This person says, didn't pressure for gifts or trips. Was genuinely embarrassed if I offered too much. Such an ironic statement. This person tells you all these warnings, and the last sentence is, didn't pressure me for gifts, was genuinely embarrassed if I offered too much? Of course she's not asking you for money. She has you wrapped around her fingers, making you feel like you are the one in control and making you feel like you're the one sending amounts of money. Why would you say all this and tell us that you're sending your wife money? The perfect example of do as I say, but not as I do. Ridiculous. You are no different than anyone else you pretend you are giving advice to. Don't give your wife money. Why would you give her money? You obviously gave her money at the beginning. It's one thing to provide for your wife and your loved ones, but to give them money like a salary, an employee, is despicable and stupid. If you have a portion that you want to help a family with, that's different. But sending her money just shows that you're not in a relationship. You're simply buying her affection. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, I understand Filipinos are poor and that you should help out. But to come on Reddit and try to be the person with all the knowledge and talk down to others who have, quote, been scammed, yet you are part of the problem, makes no sense to me. You are exactly what you're telling men not to be. Be as you will, but don't tell others how to behave. If you yourself are sending money, damn, this is so perfect, someone says. You're spot on. the biggest cheat code is learning the language and then traveling around the country, seeing cool things and talking to people in their native language. You can actually talk to her friends and family. You can find or get to know them better. It takes 100 or 500 to 1,000 hours of practice, but that's small price to pay if you're looking for a life partner. Another simp. Learning languages, there's no need, does not matter what you learn. This whole culture is backwards. You hit a nerve to say so many expats that rather ignore your comment but reply to those comments down below that still talk about money. Typical LBH attitude. People on Reddit or anywhere, Facebook, these groups are so full of themselves. They pretend like they don't pay and they're somehow special and different, yet they're exactly the type of men they try to warn. Positive Eye says, thank God you said this. I'm a Filipino American born in the Philippines to a Pinay mom and an Irish father. It irks me how expats come to our country and act like they're God's gift to women, when in reality some are sad sacks who couldn't get laid in a brothel outside Vegas with $10,000 type of foreheads. This whole Westerner as a savior of poor down. No one thinks they're a savior. I mean, not many at least. People just come here for simple reasons. It's cheap. The women are easy. Nobody wants to be a savior. There are those that have no knowledge and they think they can help everyone. But the majority of men already know they are pathetic, losers, fat, overweight, and they have only money to offer. That's why they do it. They're not Chads, so they have no other resources. So it's the type of game that it's double-sided, or it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. If you don't send money, most of these guys will never see a woman, at least no way they want to see. If you do send money, then you ruin it for the rest of us regular guys, let's say that way, who are not too above or under, neither extremely hot or extremely cold. Yes, past interaction says a lot of them play the long game. These girls are smarter than you think. Unfortunately, some weird guy ends up getting heartbroken before he realizes. That's the majority of the cases, I would say. People come here with rose-tinted glasses thinking that all these vloggers are telling the truth, but they don't tell you that it's all just a lie and a game. These are some red flags people have shared. There are several others, of course. This was the most recent one. Person sharing theirs. Neat Edition says, this is good to hear that people are starting to have common sense. My wife hates taking money from me. I have to legit force her when we were dating. My wife always wanted to call me and talk to me all the time, and I was genuinely interested in me. When my wife and I first started talking, I told her I didn't have a job or anything, and that I was just going to the gym and basically being a loser, and she still was with me. You know why she was with you? Because a loser in the West still a winner in the Philippines. Just because you do not have a job does not mean that you cannot provide her with a good life. Even someone on $500 a month has a lot more than the average person in the Philippines. Don't forget, just because you see men overspend on these so-called average women does not mean the majority of women have this opportunity. A lot of men are sending money, yes, of course, but just because you open a website doesn't mean you'll have lots of money coming in. It takes time, effort, and a lot of these women are simply just lazy, but that's the story for another day. I'm certain there are so many red flags in the Philippines. Here were just a few of them. Maybe this trip is just to meet. Of course, I can be getting played. People are so stupid online. It does not even encourage me to read anymore. The bottom line is, you have to be smart talking to these women. Always consider this. Why are they talking to you? What can you offer that they cannot get from their local surroundings? Let's read Representative's response. Real. They're wondering why these girls are mostly hustling their money. It's because they are girls, no money, no job, probably and possibly desperate, not even finished studying, less to not opportunities, and they will most likely disclose this in their sob story. However, these men still chat with them because they could date stable working women if they wanted to, but no, because they know their savior complex won't work on independent women. No, it's not because their it's simply because independent women will not look towards an older, heavy man that has not more than what she has. It makes no sense for them to associate with those type of men. It's simple. The lowest of the low go for the lowest of the low. This is today's catfish. How do you go from this to this? The best comment from yesterday is from Black Wonder Philippines. I'm an expat vlogger in Makati. Everything said here is spot on. Clickbait content aimed at viewers who will likely never even step or visit here. Before leaving the US, I watched all these channels. After living here a while, I consider most of them frauds. Old Dog thinks he's funny, but isn't. Life Beyond the Sea tells long, boring stories. These are guys in their 50s, 60s with young trophy wives, only with them for their money. Jiro learned that the hard way. Then there's the eye candy P who does skits. I found Philippines facts only after living here. This channel helps save my sanity. I now post my own content. Aside from promoting your own channel, I agree with some of what you say, although I hardly think Filipina P is eye candy. If you actually look at her, she's average at best. Sure, she may have personality, but she's playing all these men like they're kids, sad to say the least. And arm candy, hardly so. But that's not the point. Thanks for watching. God bless.